Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome back to the NWR Vantage Point Conference and to the Prophecy Investor Presentation. Joining us today, we've got Prophecy CEO Brad Thomas. I'll pass you across in a moment to Brad to present the Prophecy story. We'll have an intro to the business, and there'll be an opportunity for Q&A with Brad after that. If you would like to ask a question during Brad's presentation, please type it in the Q&A panel in the Zoom app. So to kick things off, I'll hand over now to Prophecy CEO Brad Thomas. Go ahead, Brad.
Thanks, Tim. Great to be here. Hi, folks. Thanks for your attendance. And I think we've got very limited time today, so I'm just going to kick straight into it, if that's okay, Tim.
Yep.
So Prophecy is a pure play B2B and SaaS software company based out of Adelaide. We'll talk about how long we've been operating in a minute, but we really operate out of 5 major areas around the world. Adelaide is head office. We've also got an office in Sydney, large offshore team in Manila in the Philippines, and we've got our primary sales locations in the US and in the UK. So we're just on 110 employees at the moment, and very much looking to grow the business with a focus on selling into mid to large corporates globally and into government, military and defence, specifically on the cybersecurity side. So we've got around about 4,000 customers globally across our 2 products, and many of those customers are names you know and logos that you'd be familiar with. So the business has been around for a long time. In fact, it's one of the doyens of the Australian software industry. Started off in Adelaide in '79, and it's gone through a number of iterations, up until the time that really I joined in 2016, 2017. And there were a number of small subsidiaries in the portfolio at that time, and we really rationalised those down to the 2 primary products that have got great growth opportunities in Snare and Emote. And Snare was acquired in 2011, a technology company, and Emote was acquired in 2015. And since then, we've been focusing on those two products and growing them in the markets they serve on a global basis. A few other important things there in the timeline. We also sold off a number of those smaller subsidiaries back in 2017. In 2021, we signed our largest single SaaS customer, which is Humana, big health insurer, health provider in the US. And that's in the contact center space with Emote. That's a 25,000 seat contact center. It's huge. Last year, for the full year, we achieved record revenue for the group, and we expect to exceed that again this year. And then we're in 2023, we're also invited to join Team Defence Australia with our Snare product. And I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the presentation. As you can see by the logos there, we have names around the world, blue chip customers, large enterprise, both as customers and partners. And then on top of that, there's a large number of government and military agencies around the world that use our products. So the first product that I want to talk to, and this will be the lead in to how we're thinking about growth and where we're going to grow and how we're going to grow globally. And both products are similar in that they are both effectively products dealing with data. In every organization, collecting, correlating, making sense of, and analyzing data is a significant challenge. And I'll talk about that in more detail in a few minutes. But Emote is the data and analytics product focused at the CX segment, or customer experience segment. So if you think about the call center or the contact center, your typical enterprise customer or government agency will have a contact center software. Increasingly, that's moving into the cloud, and they have a range of other applications they use to deliver CX. They'll have IVRs, chatbots, CRM systems, ticketing systems, workforce management systems, survey systems, transcription systems, customer sentiment analysis systems, and that's just to name a few. And Emote's job is to pull the data from all of those different systems and make sense of it, and then enable our customers to visualize that and to really understand how the business of their engagement with their customers is performing. Have I got the right people with the right skills in the right place at the right time with the right information to make the most sales or to give the best service to my end customer. And ultimately, that's what Emote's aiming to do. And as you can see on this slide is a couple of example dashboards, which is really the output of the Emote solution. But really the core of Emote is about ingesting data from multiple different data sources and then making sense of that. So to talk more about the problems that the business solves, and this is really true for both Snare and Emote, in that in these two domains, in CX and in cybersecurity, there are immense amounts of data. On the Snare side at the moment, we're talking to one customer that's generating 400,000 separate events every second. And that's huge amounts of data coming in to be categorized, indexed, analyzed, reported on, alerted on, stored, and held for compliance. And on the Emote side, it's exactly the same. There are huge amounts of data generated from call center agents on their voice interactions, on chat, on email, on text, on social media, huge amounts of data coming in to be analyzed to understand exactly how the enterprise or the agency is performing and delivering service. And it's this complexity and cost of extracting, transforming, and loading data that's costing organizations millions, and at a market level, billions. So if you look at some of the research, large companies are spending on average, multi-millions of dollars every year in custom integration. So just manually connecting data from one system to another system, or extracting data from systems and trying to get it into a data lake or a data warehouse or some sort of database or some sort of indexing engine. And it's that complexity of collection and correlation and indexing of data is the problem that both Emote and Snare solve in the two domains that we serve. And this is just getting worse as there are more SaaS solutions, there are more applications, companies are building bespoke applications, there are more databases, there are cloud systems. The complexity of that data fragmentation is just getting worse and costs are increasing. So, this is where we see a huge opportunity for us going forward in helping customers collect their data and make sense of it in the domains of customer experience and cybersecurity. In the case of Emote, what this enables us to do is to address larger and more expanded markets. So for those of you that know the business today, you would know that we're dealing with, in this little diagram over here on the right-hand side, these are the current players in the unified communications and contact center as a service markets. And this is straight off G2 Crowd. And we're playing with two players in that market today, which is Genesys and Amazon for Amazon Connect with Emote. So as we expand the capability of our product to be able to ingest more data from more sources more quickly, more easily, with less friction and less cost, that enables us to really address the analytics requirements of that entire market space, and not just this market space, but all of the adjacent applications that sit around that, like I talked to before. If you just take the contact center plus CRM, or the contact center plus a ticketing system, or the contact center plus workforce management, all of these applications you can see on the screen here have an ecosystem of players that deliver additional services around the CX market space. And this enables us to massively expand our footprint, both with these players and with the ecosystem more generally. Then further to that, each of these players also has their own ecosystem of services partners and resellers and system integrators that are providing service to the end customers. And this is a way for us to get to those services partners as a channel to the end customer. And that's really how we're looking to grow the Emote business from where it is today, continue to expand our presence with Amazon and with Genesys, but to really expand further into that whole CX ecosystem and the services partners that deliver a huge amount of the integration work today. So we see a huge amount of upside, not just with our existing vendor partners, but with all of the vendor partners in this market. On the Snare side, the same challenges are true. Everyone has an environment, IT infrastructure made up of computers and servers and desktops and switches and routers and firewalls and cloud services. And every second, all of those devices and all of those services are generating logs telling you what's going on in that environment. And Snare is a security monitoring tool that enables you to understand what's happening in your IT environment second by second, but also forensically back in time. Again, it's about answering the questions: who got in, how did they get in, what did they see, what did they take, what did they change, how bad is it? So once your perimeter security has failed and you have been breached, we help you answer the question, how bad is it? And we also help you meet the compliance requirements for a whole range of global standards, whether that's SOX or PCI, NIST, ISO standards, HIPAA, NERC, and many, many others. So it's about achieving compliance and then monitoring security activity on every device and every service that you have in your network. Looking for threats, being able to look at things forensically and getting real-time alerting and reporting, and being able to search for the important things that have happened in your network. This year, we've been in the Australian Defence Catalogue for the last few years. We're a provider to Defence Departments of Australia, Canada, the US. Pretty much every branch of the US military uses us in one shape or form. The largest deal we did in the last quarter was with the UK Air Force. We've got the UK Navy. We have a number of branches of US military. Many of the big defence contractors use us. And we've been selected as part of Team Defence Australia as a key sovereign supplier to the Australian defence industry. We're really one of the very few that do what we do with Australian-based R&D and technology in the market. And interestingly, there's a number of new standards and regulation around critical infrastructure, around cybersecurity posture, around supply chain security. And this is the area that Snare plays. And as we look to grow, in the same vein as Emote, we're growing by certainly expanding out the capability of the product, and we're releasing new product, have a strong product roadmap for Snare, but also working closely with resellers, global system integrators, people like Fujitsu and like Nova Coast in the US and UK, a number of partners. Telcos in particular are very important for us because they can look at both Emote and Snare products, and we have relationships with people like Optus and Telstra here locally, Verizon globally, NTT globally. So these are the ways for us to expand our market with Snare, to expand those existing partnerships and to establish new partnerships and new relationships addressing those new markets for us around the globe. So to talk a little bit about the numbers, at the end of Q3, we had cash in the bank of 4.8 million. We're debt free. We had a very good Q3 cash collection. And as we said at the half year, we expected our cash to come back up to effectively cash flow positive, and looking to be in the vicinity of cash flow break even at the end of the year. Invoicing for the year had been up, not by a huge amount, but it was definitely up, and we'd grown our ARR up to 21 million. And while this year has certainly been slower than we'd hoped, we're still seeing positive growth right across our products. We're seeing very good uptake of the subscription licensing that we introduced with Snare a year ago. And in fact, the vast majority of our licensing for Snare is now subscription. So that's building that ARR base. And we continue to acquire both net new blue chip customers globally, as well as establishing new partnerships globally. And partnerships like JTC in Japan, we've just signed our first deal with them this month. We have a very large deal we're just about to finalize with Optus. We're doing work in defense globally with Fujitsu. Nova Coast is a partner in the US that's starting to generate revenue for us. And we're seeing that these partnerships are the best way for us to get to the end customer. these partners have got established relationships that we can leverage, and by enabling them to provide services over the top of our software, we get a great win-win-win situation for the customer, the partner, and us. I think finally, we're seeing huge tailwinds in the cybersecurity market space. That's only becoming more complex and more highly regulated. We see a huge amount of upside in the security monitoring market, and with CX and the data analytics in the CX space, we're still at the very start of the whole migration to the cloud for the vast majority of that industry, particularly around the contact center software. We're really only scratching the surface of what we can do across the entire ecosystem, and we see huge tailwinds really for both products continuing over the next 5 to 10 years in the foreseeable future. So I think to sum things up, how am I going for time, Tim?
We're close to the wire, but I'll let,
okay.
Yep.
Well, I'll finish on this slide then. Look, I think if you're thinking about investing in the business, we've got very strong products that are applicable to global markets, providing diverse revenue streams. We've got a global book of sticky and large, blue chip customers that are generating and increasing ARR. We have large addressable markets for both products. Now, we really are targeting scalable growth through those partnerships and through SaaS solutions. And, we have strong market positions with both products. We're recognized globally with some leadership stake in both those product areas. And we're still looking for opportunities to both expand our existing product portfolio as well as add potentially to that through M&A activity. So I think, Tim, that's me. I think we can go straight to Q&A.
Sounds good, Brad. Thanks for the presentation. Let's just hop into some of the questions. So with Emote continuing to grow and add new customers, do you anticipate any increase to the product's cost base from here, or should margins on the Emote side continue to improve with more of those nice blue chip wins that you outlined in the...
Yeah, look, I think, as we continue to add more customers, we certainly do start to get some leverage at a revenue and net profit perspective. I think the only area where we're really planning to scale Emote, and probably not so much in the next 6 months, is again around sales and marketing. It's been a common thread from me over the last year. I think there is still a huge amount of opportunity for us to pursue, particularly as our new product that enables us to address broader segments of that market lands. We definitely get the opportunity to expand our footprint. So I think that's where the expansion is going to be. I don't think it's necessarily going to be too much on the product side. And I would definitely like to see more revenue generated before we start to think too much more about expanding the expense line.
Yep, makes sense. And still with Emote, clearly Genesis is a really key partner for you. It's previously been commented that staff turnover at Genesis slowed the pipeline somewhat for Prophecy last year. The question is, how's Emote doing now through this partnership with Genesis? Is there any pickup in pipeline conversion? And are there also, as a follow-on from that, are there any other new vendors in the pipeline beyond Genesis and Amazon?
Yeah, and I think that's what I spoke to with the product enhancements we're doing, particularly around the data integration and integration platform as a service. We have been heavily reliant on both Amazon and Genesis for the vast majority of our business, and haven't really pushed beyond those particular ecosystems or market segments, primarily because it's been a resourcing issue more than anything else. You spread yourself too thin, you end up being pretty meaningless to the people you're trying to talk to. So we've deliberately stayed with those two vendors, primarily because it was a little bit too hard to expand out into the rest of that market ecosystem. But with a new product we're just about to release, effectively the world is our oyster in that bit, and it will reduce our reliance on Genesis being effective in market, in any particular region, or Amazon or any vendor. It dilutes our partnership risk from that perspective.
Yeah, it's exciting. And on that, Brad, some of the new stuff you touched on earlier in the preso was relating to the opportunity in data analytics. So as part of that, if we think about emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, are you incorporating these technologies to enhance these or other products?
Yeah, we are across both products. We're looking at how we leverage a range of AI and ML capabilities that sit in some of the platforms that we use to deliver service. For us as a small business to go out and build our own AI models doesn't make sense. But by partnering with Amazon or Oracle or other cloud providers that have got capability, we can build that in relatively simply to Emote. And in fact, John Boyd, who's our head of product and innovation for Emote, based out of the UK, is doing a huge amount of work in this space right now, and we see a significant opportunity. I think we will probably have something in the Emote business maybe in the next 6 months, 6 to 9 months. I don't want to put too much pressure on John, but we're definitely thinking about that for both of our products. I think one of the things you do have to be aware of is you do need huge data sets, and even our biggest customer, with the amount of data that they generate, is probably not enough data to accurately train some of these models. And some of our biggest customers are military and government, and they're not going to let their data anyway. So there are some challenges there, and that's why we want to partner rather than try and do something ourselves.
It's really exciting, Brad. So there's so much for investors to look forward to. That's our time for today. So on behalf of Prophecy, I'd really like to thank everyone for tuning in. We appreciate everyone's interest in the company. If anyone had a question we didn't answer, please reach out, and Brad and his team will be happy to discuss further offline. We'll also make the recording of this session available on the NWR YouTube account. Really looking forward to the opportunity to talk to everyone again. And Brad, I might pass back to you now for any closing comments.
Thanks, Tim. Look, I think you said it's exciting, and we're certainly excited. We see a huge opportunity across both product sets. Our markets are expanding. We're making sales on a monthly basis, and while the macroeconomic environment's been tough in the last year, we've come out of it well, and we're looking forward to a fantastic financial year 24. So, thanks everyone for your time.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks everyone. Chat to you again soon.